Most retirees who come to Thailand start in tourist areas Pattaya, Phuket, Hua Hin, Chiang Mai, and at first it makes perfect sense. Everything is easy, comfortable, social, almost too easy. Life just works, and when you've just arrived in a new country, that matters more than anything. But here's what's interesting. After a few months, sometimes a year, a lot of people start to feel something shift. Not dramatically, just quietly. And before they really plan it, they start thinking about leaving. Not Thailand, just this kind of place. And that catches a lot of people off guard because nothing obvious has gone wrong, but something doesn't feel quite the same anymore. So the question is, why do many retirees start in tourist areas and then leave? And the strange part is, almost everyone starts in exactly the same way. Most retirees who come to Thailand start in places like Phuket, Pattaya, Hua Hin, or areas in Chiang Mai Old Town. And when you first arrive, it's easy to see why. Everything just works. You've got English menus, Western supermarkets, apartments ready to move into. People who understand exactly what you need before you even ask. You land, and within a few days, you've got a SIM card, a place to live, and a routine starting to form. No stress, no confusion, no friction. And after a big move like this, that matters more than people expect. Because at that stage, you're not looking for the perfect place. You're just looking for somewhere that feels easy. And that's exactly why almost everyone starts here, even if they don't stay. And then there's the social side. You can walk into a cafe, and within minutes, you're talking to people who've done exactly what you've just done. Same move, same questions, same stage of life. There are meetups, groups, golf, cycling, coffee mornings. You don't have to build a life from scratch. You can almost step into one. And that's what makes tourist areas so powerful at the start. They don't just give you a place to live, they give you a soft landing, a version of Thailand that still feels familiar enough to settle into quickly. And for a while, that's exactly what you want. The first few months can feel surprisingly good. You find your place, you settle into a routine, and life starts to feel easy in a way it hasn't done for years. There's usually a cafe you drift towards, same seat, same coffee, you start recognizing faces. Mornings feel open, unstructured. You wake up and the day just unfolds. You might explore a bit more at the start, different beaches, new restaurants, little day trips here and there. But even that feels effortless. Nothing is far, nothing is complicated. And socially, it's probably the easiest it's ever been. You'll meet people quickly, not because you're trying to, but because everyone else is doing the same thing. Same move, same stage of life. Conversations just happen. And somewhere in all of that, there's a feeling that's hard to describe, but very real. Relief. Like life has finally slowed down a bit. Less pressure, less noise, more space to just enjoy things. You might even catch yourself thinking, this is it. This is exactly what I was looking for. And for a while, it really does feel that way. But this is the part most people don't recognize at the time. Because nothing feels wrong. Everything still works. Everything still feels good. It's just that slowly, almost without noticing, the feeling starts to change. But somewhere between 3 and 6 months, things start to feel a little different. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just gradually. You wake up one morning and something feels slightly off. Not bad, just not quite the same as it did before. The street feels a bit louder. The traffic stands out more. The same bars, the same restaurants don't quite feel as new as they did a few months ago. And you start to notice the rhythm of the place. New people arriving, others leaving. Every week it resets. The conversations don't really change either. Same questions, same stories. Where are you from? How long are you here for? And that's when something subtle clicks. You realise you're not really part of this place. You're just in it. Even if you've been there for months, maybe even a year, it can still feel like you're passing through. And then there are the smaller things. Prices creeping up, a favourite place closing or changing hands, a new hotel going up nearby. Nothing major on its own, but together it shifts how the place feels. And this is usually where the question changes. At the start it was, can I live here? Now it becomes, do I actually want to? Not because anything is wrong, but because the life you thought you were building starts to feel a bit temporary. And that's the turning point. Not dramatic, not obvious, but once you feel it, it's hard to ignore. The turning point usually isn't dramatic. No big decision, no moment where someone says, that's it, I'm leaving. It's quieter than that. You just start noticing things. Someone you used to see every week isn't around anymore. A familiar face at the cafe, gone. And when you ask about them, it's always something simple. Oh, they've moved out of town. They've found somewhere a bit quieter. They fancied a change. And you start hearing that more often. Not all at once, just here and there. Until eventually you realise it's not random. It's a pattern. I've spoken to people who've gone through exactly this. One guy, he'd been living around Pattaya for about a year. At first he absolutely loved it. The energy, the restaurants, the social side of it. He was out most days, meeting people, always something happening. But over time, he just stopped going out as much. Not because he didn't like it anymore, just because he didn't feel the same. He told me something that stuck. Nothing really changed, just me. And a few months later, he moved. Not far, just outside the city, somewhere quieter. And that's usually how it happens. People don't leave Thailand. They don't even leave the area most of the time. They just move slightly out of the noise. And that's when it becomes clear. This isn't about the place being good or bad. It's about fit. Because the place hasn't changed, but what you need from it has. So when that shift happens, where do people usually go? Usually not very far. They don't leave Thailand. They don't start over somewhere completely new. They just move slightly. Out of places like Pattaya, Phuket or central Hua Hin, and into the edges. Places like Bang Sarai, Prambury, Cha Am. Still close enough to reach everything, but far enough that it feels completely different when you wake up. The noise drops away. Mornings are quieter. Instead of traffic, you hear birds. Instead of constant movement, things feel more still. And at first, that feels like exactly the right move. More space, lower rent, less going on. But this is the part that matters. It's not an upgrade, it's a trade. You gain quiet, but you lose convenience. You gain space, but you lose variety. You gain calm, but you lose that ease, social energy. Simple things change. The supermarket might be 20 minutes away. Meeting friends takes planning. If you want something familiar, you might have to go and look for it. And that's the shift. Life becomes a bit more intentional, less reactive. And for some people, that feels better. For others, that's where it starts to feel a bit too slow. Daily life is where the difference really shows up, not in big decisions, but in small, everyday moments. In a tourist area like Hua Hin or Pattaya, life is easy. You wake up and you don't really have to plan anything. You can walk out the door, grab a coffee, bump into someone you know. Maybe you'll end up having lunch out. Maybe you'll meet someone for a drink later. There's always something happening. And if you feel like doing something, you just go and do it. Life feels flexible, spontaneous. You don't think too much about it. Now compare that to somewhere quieter. Your day starts slower, more intentional. You wake up and you already have a rough idea of what the day looks like. If you need groceries, that's a trip. If you're meeting someone, that's planned. You're not just stepping out into activity, you're creating it. And over time, that changes how life feels. You cook more, you stay home more, you build routines. Your world becomes a bit smaller, but also a bit calmer. And this is where it really splits. For some people, that feels like peace. For others, it feels like something's missing. So, who actually makes this transition work? The people who do well in quieter areas are usually very comfortable in their own space. They don't need something happening every day. They don't rely on other people to fill their time. They already have their own rhythm, a morning routine, things they enjoy doing alone, a way of structuring their day. Because in a quieter place, that's what your life is built around. They're also okay with a bit more effort, driving when they need something, planning their week, handling small problems themselves. That doesn't frustrate them, it just feels normal. And a lot of the time, they're not looking for more life, they're looking for less noise. Now, on the other side, this is where it can be a difficult adjustment. If you're someone who enjoys variety, different places, different routines, this can feel limiting quite quickly. If you like being able to just step out and find something to do, or meet people without planning, you'll feel the difference straight away. If you don't drive, it becomes restrictive very fast. And there's one that catches people off guard. If you think you want a quiet life, but you've never actually lived one, this can be a shock because quiet sounds appealing until you're inside it every day. And that's where some people realize something important. They didn't want less life, they just wanted a different version of it. So, why do so many retirees start in tourist areas and then leave? It's not because those places are bad. In fact, they're the perfect place to begin. They make the transition easy. They give you structure, comfort, a way to settle into a completely new country without feeling overwhelmed. But over time, what you need from a place starts to change. At the beginning, you want convenience, you want things to feel familiar, you want life to just work. But after a while, that's not enough anymore. You start looking for something else, a bit more space, a bit more quiet, a life that feels less temporary and a bit more your own. And that's when people move, not far away from Thailand, not away from the life they built, just slightly closer to the version of life that actually fits them. Because in the end, this isn't really about locations. It's about how you want your days to feel. And the interesting part is, the place doesn't change, you do. If you've enjoyed today's video, can you do me a massive favour? Press the subscribe button. Really helps the channel and pushes the video to people like yourselves who want to retire in Thailand. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one, guys.